Hey everybody, Live Cash Crusher here, coming to you with another video. In this video, I want to do a comparison of our Live Cash Crusher poker coach versus one of the most renowned and respected poker coaches and hand reviewers on YouTube, Bart Hanson, the man himself from Crush Live Poker YouTube channel. Today is October 29th. And this is the hand that we are talking about. It has just come out a couple of days ago. It is called What Really Matters in Tough Bluff Catching Spots. So let's review the hand from the video and plug it in into our Poker Coach AI built on a Chat GPT platform based on hundreds of thousands of data points from live game exploitative experience and data. First thing I want to do is I want to click on this prompt right here that says I want to analyze a hand, and it gets the AI started into thinking the right direction. And it replies back with, I'd be glad to help analyze your hand. Please share hand details, including position, stack size, actions taken on each street, player tendencies, and any specific spots where you felt uncertain. This information will allow for a thorough analysis focused on maximizing profit and minimizing mistakes. Let's dig into the details. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in exactly what the caller says step by step as the video goes along, and we're going to analyze it right along the video to see how it works out.
Tyler, you are our next caller. Where are you playing out of?
This is a 2-5 game, a little bit north of Austin, Texas.
A little bit north. Let me guess. Would it be now? If you're saying a little bit north, it could be Georgetown. It could be Temple.
Yeah, I live in Temple. Yeah, but the game is in Killeen. It's at a room
Killeen.
called Just Jack Social.
All right. So 2-5. Is it a match the stack or what?
Uncapped.
Uncapped. 2-5 uncapped. By the way, I lived in Leander for 2.5 years. 2-5 uncapped. Okay.
Yep, and it's this is after a live stream. So we had just played on a live stream for 3.5, 4 hours, and this is afterwards. We just got a few new players, so there were kind of some different stack sizes.
What live stream?
The Just Jack's Social.
Oh, okay. I think I've heard of that one. It's a couple hundred people.
Super nice room. The live stream is growing as well.
Yeah. Okay. So 2-5 uncapped in Killeen.
We are 8-handed, about 1,500 effective, 1485 with the main villain.
8-handed, 1485 effective.
Yep.
Okay.
So pre-flop, I opened with 8-9 of clubs from middle position
to
20.
Okay.
There was no straddle. It was maybe, I'd say probably 75% of the time straddled. And the straddles can be up to 5x as well. So sometimes it's like 2-5, 25, but this one didn't have a straddle.
So this one doesn't have a straddle. Okay. So hero to 20 with 9-8 of clubs, no straddle. Okay.
The button calls, small blind calls, and big blind calls.
Button calls, small blind calls, and big blind call. Okay.
Yep. So Texas heads up always.
Yeah, Texas heads up.
80 and 5.
Yeah.
So the flop was 9 of diamonds, 4 of hearts, 3 of clubs.
9 of diamonds, 4 of hearts, 3 of clubs. So you flop top pair, backdoor club draw with 9-8 of clubs. Okay.
Yep. So both the blinds check. And I went pretty big here to 75.
That is pretty big. That is definitely pretty big on a board like this, in the sense of, you're. I mean, I would definitely bet for sure. It's not that connected. Now, obviously, I think the adjustment that maybe you will sort of say that you're making here, Tyler, is that it's Texas, and that on the flop, whether Tyler bets 25 or 75, it's going to get called by the same range. If that's true, then the bet should be 75, right?
Right. I know I'm going to get called by King Jack of diamonds, or
I was just thinking any 3 or any 4. Right. If you're gonna get called by the same range of hands and you're betting for value, does 9-8 of clubs favor to be the best hand against 3 people on 9-4-3? Absolutely. especially if people are playing like 40 or 50% of hands, right? It absolutely favors to be.
Especially in a time break game where the ranges are just much wider.
So you look at this and like, you know, in a theoretical sense, you'd be like, oh, bet smaller. You need to like, you know, you need to try to get these people to defend with worse. If they're going to defend with worse anyways, then by all means, size up, right? It's just not on paper. You look at this and it's like, oh, it's really dry. That's a big bet. But I'm definitely trying to take your side on this one. So you go 75, okay.
The button calls, small blind calls, and the big blind calls.
Button, small, they all call.
Everybody calls.
There you go.
Yep. So we got 380.
380.
Going to the turn.
380 in the pot. Okay.
So here's the breakdown of Hero's play up to the turn, pre-flop. Open with 9 of clubs, 8 of clubs from middle position, solid open, particularly in a live 2-5 game where players often defend wide. Suited connectors are valuable hands with equity potential in multiple pots, which is common in live games. Sizing $20 is reasonable. It could be adjusted up slightly in an uncapped game if players call loosely pre-flop. A larger open, $25 to $30, could reduce the field, as four-handed to the flop can lead to tricky spots with top pair hands. So this is pretty good advice. I agree, and I think Bart agrees. Flop, 9 of diamonds, 4 of hearts, 3 of clubs. Continuation bet of 75 into 80 pots. Hero bets nearly pot size, which is strong. With top pair and backdoor draw, this sizing applies pressure and aims to isolate at least one player. In a four-way pot, larger bets can deny equity from overcards or force weaker pairs to fold. Basically, just like Bart stated, it's a pretty good bet in a four-way pot. Yeah, putting pressure on all the players to get it to go at least heads up. Multi-way callers, the fact that all 3 opponents called indicates ranges potentially include pairs, straight draws, overpairs, and occasionally slow played sets. Given the flop texture, though most opponents likely hold hands like 9x, pocket pairs like 5s to 8s, or speculative draws like 6-5. Summary of Hero's lines so far. Hero has played the hand aggressively, leveraging strong top pair with kicker advantage on relatively dry board. However, with all 3 opponents calling the flop, Hero may need to proceed with caution on the turn if no additional equity or clear improvement is made. Considerations on the turn. Now, this is one of the things I like about this AI. It gives you some planning for the following streets to come, which always is helpful to get you in the mindset of planning your hand ahead. Position, being the middle position with multiple opponents left to act, can make the subsequent streets challenging. A plan for the turn should consider how to proceed if the board becomes more coordinated or if Hero's hand remains unimproved. Pot control, with such a large pot of 380 and 3 colors, Hero may face diminishing returns on aggression, especially if faced with a raise. So that's the hand so far. Let's see what it goes like after that.
So the turn is the 5 of spades, so it completes the full rainbow.
Turn's a 5 of spades. So now the pot, the board is 9, 4, 3, 5. That's not a great, boy, it's interesting because when you look at this and you're like, what do I want to see here on the turn? Normally you would think on a rainbow board when you bet like 9-8 that you would actually want to see like a disconnected high card, like a king, queen, or jack or something like that. This 5 actually, now it doesn't connect with top pair, but with what we're talking about when people are just over calling on the flop, like peeling way too wide. What you're going to see on a 9-4-3 board, I would see like an over distribution of hands like 6-7, ace deuce, right? Bottom end gut shots, pairs, and the most likely sort of connecting cards that you play with a 4 would be like a 5, right? Or like 3-5. So you still might have the best hand here, But like, for example, if you were starting to run like some sort of backdoor equity bluff, like say you had like Jack 10 of diamonds, this would be a terrible turn card to barrel. Now your hand though is like, well, should I just bet and get all like the pair plus straight draws to call? Should I just bet fold? And that's kind of like the tack that the sort of approach that I took. I felt like in Texas and a lot of these other games too, where yeah, I mean it's super loose, but it's not necessarily any more aggressive than any place else. I don't know your take with these particular players. If you agree with that, then you can just sort of like robustly continue to bet for value. You're probably going to end up having to check back river if you get called.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was pretty much just planning on bet folding, not
okay.
really going to give anybody credit for raising this turn
Right.
as a bluff, especially full rainbow.
Yeah, yeah.
So both blinds checked again, and I went pretty.
Let's stop the video right there and plug in the turn card and ask the AI to analyze the effect of that turn card on the board texture and the playability of the turn and the river coming, just like Bart did, and compare the two and see what it says. And the AI comes back, our coach comes back and says, the turn 5 of spades changes the board to 9 of diamonds, 4 of hearts, 3 of clubs, 5 of spades, impacting the hero's hand and overall strategy significantly. New straight possibilities. The turn completes some straights draw, especially 7-6, which is common call candidate on the flop in multi-way pots. This increases the likelihood that one of the callers, particularly in the big blind or small blind, now may hold a straight. Impact on hero's equity. Hero's top pair of 9 of clubs, 8 of clubs loses value on this turn with multiple callers on the flop. The range of opponents likely includes hands with draws that now have the hero beat, or hands with equity that remain strong, such as overpairs, sets, or improved draws. Strategic adjustments. Check or bet small. Given the completion of the potential straights and multi-way nature of the hand, hero should consider a more conservative approach here. A check allows for pot control, minimizing losses if one of the opponents indeed holds a straight or is slow playing a strong hand. Avoid overcommitting. Betting here with a medium strength hand could lead to costly mistakes if raised, especially since opponents who call the flop might now use this 5 of spades as an opportunity to semi-bluff or value bet. Smaller turn bet, example $100 to $150, could test the opponent's hands but might also invite aggression from stronger holdings. If the hero checks and sees checks around, hero can better gauge the opponent's hand strength on the river. If an opponent bets, hero must evaluate the likelihood of them holding a straight or two pair type hands. In short, the 5 of spade turn is a warning sign for the hero's 9 of clubs, 8 of clubs in four-way pot, encouraging caution and a shift toward pot control. And I think this is what Bart was getting at. And mainly the message here is proceed with caution, perhaps a small bet with planning on bet folding to a raise if one was to come. Let's go back to the video.
Big again, kind of as a merge bet, just figuring I'm going to get called by 5-6. I'm going to fold out high card equity. And I also maybe will start to fold out hands like 9-10 or Jack-9 just when I go so big twice. I think the guys in the middle, so the button and the small blind, may fold out a better 9 here.
So what you're saying is you're making a combo bet.
Kind of, yeah.
So what is a
that was my thought process.
Combo bet? This is a funny term because I don't know if I made this one up or not. We used to talk about this way back in the day on Live at the Bike, and it took us like years to sort of refine the definition because at first the definition didn't make sense. Called by getting better to fold, but worse to call. That's the opposite, right, of what we think of betting. But what it is like you get the better made hands to fold and the worse to call in the form of draws. And it typically can only happen like in a multi-way spot. By the way, there's no combo bet on the river. That doesn't make any sense. Usually on the river, because there's no more draws to call. So what kind of sizing are you going to use here?
So I went to 300, so a little over 3/4 pot.
The button, the small blind, the big blind. So you're in the middle, right? You've got one guy behind you, and then two guys have checked to you. So it goes check, 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 hero 300. I mean, I like the way that you talked through this, Tyler. I don't necessarily. I think this might be overly optimistic. I think I might just go like 150 to hope to check it down. This whole thing about like I might get a guy in the blinds to like fold a better nine and then get other people to call with draws might be a little bit far-reaching. I think in this spot.
Yeah, I think it was probably a little bit too big. I think 200 or 175, 150 probably accomplishes the same thing. But I wanted to go big because I just am not going to give any. If I go like 150, I think somebody may raise off with 5-6 at this point. But when I go so big, I just don't think I'm getting raised as a bluff ever.
Well, I mean, I mean, maybe 5-6. But yeah, I mean, yeah, the board's rainbow, so no one can do it on the backdoor side. Someone else brings up a good, well, but someone else brings up a point. I think with Street Soul Ever, there's, you're saying that they're calling with King Jack on the flop, but now they're going to fold out a better nine on the turn. Like that doesn't necessarily sound like congruent. And I think that was kind of what I was going with, where I wouldn't expect someone to necessarily fold out a better nine. So I think that's where the whole part of, well, you're not going to get raised as a bluff. I just don't think you're going to get folded better nine in between. So personally, I either would have checked or I think I still probably bet to try to get it to check down personally from the response I've seen. I just haven't. I think where I'm from the setups that I saw in Texas, I wouldn't expect to get raised by 5-6 here for 150. But okay, so you go 300.
So the button folds, the small blind folds, and the big blind calls.
So fold, call.
Yep. So 980.
Okay, so Hero decides to bet quite large, 300, hoping to somehow get better hands to fold and worse hands to continue. Bart doesn't seem to really like that idea. I personally don't like it because I think given the four-handed nature of this hand, there could be one or two, if not all the opponents being uncapped that could have completed the draw or have a better draw now. So small blind checks, big blind checks. Hero bets big to 300 to try to get better hands to fold and worse hands to continue. Button and small blind fold, big blind calls. We go to the river with $980 in the pot. What do you think of the Hero's turn bet? Hero's large bet of 300 into $380 pot on 5 of spades turn in this four-way scenario has interesting implications. Maximizing fold equity. A $300 bet is designed to create fold equity, ideally pushing out marginal hands like 9x with weak kickers and hands that improve slightly but not enough to call such a strong bet. Example 5x hands or smaller pairs. Targeting specific opponents against opponents who are likely to fold marginal holdings or hands like 9x, the large size might succeed in isolating big blind or reducing the field effectively. Given that the hero is targeting folds from better hands, it's risky to assume marginal hands will fold, especially in live play where calls on dry boards are more common. Calling hands here include hands that have improved on the turn, example 2 pair like 9-5, 5-4, 9-5 suited, 5-4 suited, and made straights like 7-6, or sets slow played on the flop, overestimating value of top pair in multi-way pot. The bet is ambitious given that the hero has top pair with weak kicker. Betting large here may force weaker hands out, but might not achieve enough folds from the stronger holdings in the big blind's calling range. A check would allow hero to see how opponents react and potentially pick up some information about the strength of their hands. Since hero's top pair is unlikely to improve on the river, a smaller bet or check here would help avoid large losses against hands that will rarely fold. In summary, while aggressive, the $300 bet may not consistently achieve its intended fold equity against better holdings in live play, potentially creating tough river decisions. This big bet is best suited for tables where opponents are very fold prone to turn aggression. Pretty much exactly what the sentiment of Bart's opinion is. This is a very, very optimistic large bet that's risking too much against hands that are just not going to fold in a live environment, especially in a multi-way pot. Awesome. I think our AI coach right now is doing a really, really great job analyzing this hand. Let's continue with the video and see how it turns out.
Well, I mean, that's not the worst thing, right, that happened there, right?
Yeah, pretty decent result. And now I'm basically just planning on checking back every river except a 9 or an 8.
Right. All right. So now the pot's 980, and what is the river?
The river is the ace of spades.
The ace of spades. So the board is 9-4-3-5 ace. So it puts out a one-liner here to a deuce. Puts a one-liner out here to a deuce. Okay. So obviously, if it goes, if the guy checks, you're going to check it back, right?
Yeah, but he just decides, he thinks for maybe 3 or 4 seconds and just donk jams for about 1100. 1090.
The big blind donk jams for 1090. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, anytime you look at this, even somewhat low stakes poker, you think, well, do people make I mean, is this a deuce or is this a straight or nothing? Is this a straight or nothing bet? But then you look at like what is the nothing portion, and go to a small stakes exploit that we have, which is like you should overfold or you should fold when the bluffs would be paired, because
Right.
the nothing portion of this really almost has to contain a pair in it. Like it would be like 5-6.
No way he's going to have air after calling 2 big bets.
He can't really have any air. So it's a situation where it's like, all right, well, now is he doing this with like 4-6? Is he doing it with like 5-6? By the way, he could still have the stone cold nuts here some of the time here too, although that is a little bit strange to like donk jam a scary river. The other really sort of kind of weird part of this, we could say weird or just strange, is that if he had aces up here, like if he had aces up, let's say he still called with like ace 5, right? On the turn. Yeah, whatever, pair plus gut shot. He should bet the river. It's not like you have a deuce here. And you're going to be checking back all over pairs at the end. But you wouldn't think that he would take this type of sizing, right?
Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking. I thought his only value really would be maybe pocket deuces that peels the flop, turns open ended, and now rivers the straight. Or ace 9 suited, which there's one combo of. But after I bet so big twice, my range is just going to contain so many overpairs like kings and queens that I wouldn't think that somebody's just going to come out and donk overbet jam when my range just looks like kings, queens, jacks. That's just going to think of this as a scare card. If he has 2 pair or somehow a straight, I would have expected him to go like 500 or.
So you think that this bet size represents the fact that he either has 6-7, a deuce, whether he made it with like 4 deuce, 5 deuce, or he had like deuce 6, or he's turning like 5-6 or 4-6 or 3-6 or something like that into a bluff. Is that accurate?
Yeah, something like that. But I don't really wouldn't even expect him to turn like 4-6 or 5-6 into a bluff. I guess potentially 5-6 is what I was thinking. I think 4-6. Well, I guess 4-6.
Well, if you don't expect those hands to if you don't expect those hands to turn anything into a bluff, then what are you left with here at the end?
Yeah, that's what I couldn't really figure out. This is probably the longest I've ever tanked. It was probably like 5 minutes.
Well, if you're left with no bluffs, then you should fold, right?
Well, I feel like I'm also left with basically no value either.
Why can't he do that? Why? Because of the sizing, you mean?
Yeah, because what hand for value would he take this sizing with?
Well, he shouldn't. He shouldn't. I mean, that in itself is strange. But if you told me he's going to roll, if you called somehow and he rolls over like 6-7, it wouldn't be that shocking to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Or a
I
deuce.
knew 6-7 or ace deuce would be a possibility, although the ace at the end reduces the ace deuce. But also, either one of those would have turned a straight. And when I bet so big and it just looks like I have an overpair, I would have expected him to just check jam the turn, just because nobody in Texas is folding overpairs. So when it looks like I have an overpair and he makes the nuts, I would just expect him to jam the turn.
So then you're just left with him having a deuce. But then you're confused about the sizing at the end.
Yeah, either deuce deuce or one combo of ace 9 suited. Ace nine offsuit too, I guess.
I don't even, yeah, but that in itself is strange. I would fold. I wouldn't think too much about it.
All right, so as it turns out, the big blind donk jams for 1090, which is a huge bet, and that seems to confuse the hero. He tanks, and I think it's fairly straightforward here. That donk jam, although the sizing is kind of strange, doesn't leave a whole lot to be desired. I mean, like Bart says, it's hard to find any bluffs here for that kind of action, but let's plug that in to the AI and see what it says. All right, so we're gonna put in the river is ace of spades and the big blind donk jams for $1,090. What do you think of this bet? What do you think it could represent about the big blind's range? What bluffs could the big blind jam with? How do you think the hero should proceed? Is there any bluffs or value hands that the hero could beat given the bet from the big blind? And our coach says the ace of spade river brings in several dynamics, and the big blind's donk shove for 1090 into a pot of $980 requires careful examination. Strong value hands, as the ace of spades is a scare card, often perceived as an improvement for the hero. This can encourage big blind to jam with hands that were strong on the turn or improved by the river. Likely value hands in big blind's range include straight 7-6, already completed on the turn and remain strong to the river, two pairs, and sets, hands like 5-4, 9-5, or even sets like pocket threes, pocket fours, and pocket fives. Could take this line particularly if big blind views the ace as reducing hero's likelihood of holding over pair or set. May flush draws, although unlikely given no flush draw on the turn, big blind could potentially hold ace x of clubs, turning a backdoor flush into a bluff or a very strong hand if the clubs were on the board. Possible bluffs in big blind's range: miss straights, while unlikely big blind could have a hand like 7-6 off, or well, 7-6 would actually complete the draw for the straight, so that's incorrect. Let's give that information. Sometimes the AI does get confused, so when you see that, you just correct it and have it reanalyze the hand. So sometimes that's a little bit of limitation with the AI, but if you recognize that it's made that mistake, you can easily correct it, and you can re-ask the question over again. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna copy this question and paste it and ask it all over again and see. All right, it says the big blind's dunk shove of 1090 as a river on a $980 pot is highly polarizing. Here's the detailed analysis. Strong value big blinds river jam heavily suggests a strong made hand, especially given the action so far. Straights most prominent holding big blind's range is completed with the straight of 7-6 or 6-7, which was made on the turn. Sets or two pairs. Although the clubs didn't make a flush, big blind could theoretically hold ace 9 or a slow played ace x suited, interpreting the river ace as potentially giving a hero top pair or two pair of hands, hoping hero will hero call. Big blind's bluffing options are limited, as most straight draws 7-6 or 6-7 are already completed. However, some missed gut shots or weak pairs that don't improve like 6-7 could turn into bluff, although this is rare in live play. Missed low pair or backdoor clubs. It's unlikely but possible that big blind could try to turn low pairs like 6-5 or 6s into a bluff, although these bluffs are infrequent in live setting due to the pot odds hero would be offered. So there's not a whole lot of bluffs that our coach can find either. Hero's response: evaluating bluffs versus value. Given the big blind's line taken, this shove is most often value heavy play. Hero bets very few hands within this range, only with an extremely rare bluff with a misdraw or weak hand turned into a bluff. Best action: with only top pair, hero's equity is weak against the range of big blind against the range big blind is representing. Even in situations where players occasionally bluff in this spot, the high frequency of their value hands in big blind's range, straights, sets, or two pairs, make calling here unfavorable. Hero should fold, as the likelihood of beating any value holding is extremely low. All right, the big blind's river dunk jam in this multi-way context leans strongly towards value, meaning heroes 9 of clubs, 8 of clubs cannot realistically profit by calling. And one of the things that was confusing the hero in the call was the sizing. So let's bring that up and ask our coach about it. You're right. It says the big blind's large dunk shot for 1090 into 980 is unusual even for the strong value hands, particularly in live setting. This is how to interpret the bet. Sizing analysis for value. Typically, players with strong value hands like straights or sets prefer a more balanced and callable bet size on the river to maximize profit, especially in a live game where an overshove could deter a call. This shove, however, may indicate polarization, suggesting big blind has the nuts or nothing. When the live player takes this line, they may be overvaluing strong hands, expecting the hero to call with ace X or other hands that might feel compelled to call after the ace on the river. Given this extreme sizing, big blind could indeed be bluffing with a missed draw or weaker holding, capitalizing on hero's perceived cap range. Since hero bet big on the turn but didn't commit further aggression, this sizing is consistent with the last-ditch attempt to push the hero off marginal hands that may call a smaller bet but fold to a larger overbet. Hero's decision with 9 of clubs, 8 of clubs. Despite the polarizing bet, hero still has a marginal hand that barely beats any of the big blind's bluffs given the board runout. Folding remains the most prudent choice as big blind's line, though polarizing, shifts enough toward a bluff to justify a call. In live games, such overbet shoves can sometimes mean weakness, but here folding remains optimal due to the specific board and pot dynamics. Perfect. It's still leaning towards a fold. In my opinion, this kind of bet on the river, I think it represents the nuts trying to extract maximum value disguised as a bluff. That's why I think this unusual sizing is actually a really good play. Let me plug that in. So what I said was I personally think this unusual sizing is trying to maximize gains with strong value hands while disguising itself as a bluff as it's an unusual sizing. Let's see what it spits back at us. Your intuition is likely correct. The big blinds over shove could be a clever attempt at extracting max value by making a strong hand appear as it might be a bluff. This strategy can be especially effective in live cash game where unusual lines are sometimes used to induce calls from skeptical opponents. Here's how this approach works. Perceived polarization. The overbet may appear polarizing to hero, while making it seem like big blind is trying to represent a missed draw or weak hand by overbetting. If the big blind knows that hero might interpret it this way, they can exploit hero's curiosity or tendency to make hero calls. Maximizing against ace X or hero calls, big blind may anticipate that hero could interpret this bet as either an attempt to steal the pot or apply maximum pressure with a missed hand. By betting this way, big blind could be targeting calls from the hero's potential river pairs like ace X or even medium strength hands like 9X if hero feels priced in to call due to the perceived bluff. In live games, players sometimes apply leveling strategies using a bet that might appear suspiciously large to extract maximum value from players who may talk themselves into a call, especially if they believe big blind wouldn't take this line with a genuinely strong hand. Given this, folding remains the best course for the hero with 9 of clubs, 8 of clubs, as the big blind's bet construction strongly indicates that they're leveraging this perceived bluff opportunity to maximize gains with a powerful hand. Excellent. Wonderful. Let's go to the video.
Yeah, so the big bet just confused me. I couldn't really figure anything out. So I ended up calling, and he had 8-9 of spades, and we chopped.
That is bizarre. So he was turning his hand into a bluff. Well, you know what that brings up is another bad factor here for you, which is somehow if he's turning a 9 into a bluff here and you lose.
Right. If he has like 9-10 or something,
I
then
mean, he's in the big blind, right? So he's getting a prize pre. It's Texas and it's loose. So that means that like he's gonna be V-pipping the 9s with the higher kicker on the offsuit side more. Like he's gonna have like king 9 off, queen 9 off, jack 9 off, way more than like 9-6 off. Well, I guess all these other ones are all 2-pair anyways. 9-5, 9-4, 9-3, 9 deuces is straight. But the only thing you beat here is 9-6 7 and 9-6, right? You're losing to 10-9. That's one thing that we didn't take into consideration. We didn't think a 9 would have to, but I mean, that would have sucked if you turned over 10-9, right?
Yeah, I would have been pretty sick to see 10-9. I just really didn't expect hands like this to be turned into a bluff.
Yeah, that's well, you definitely get some bizarre stuff in live poker, but again, I go back to the whole thing though. At the end though on the river, I mean, I understand what you're saying about that he would be check jamming or check raising a lot with straights and stuff on the turn. I do think that your turn sizing is too big. I would either go smaller or maybe sometimes check. But I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.
So I plugged in, hero calls, and the villain turns over 9 and 8 of spades for a chop. What do you think of hero's call and the villain's river bet given his hand? And our coach says the hand ending in a chop adds an interesting layer to both hero's call and the villain's river overbet with 9-8 of spades. Hero's call. Given the unusual shove size, hero's call shows an understanding of the villain's potential for polarizing or leveraging play. Hero recognized the possibility of villain's bet might be an attempt to appear stronger than they were actually, which can sometimes be profitable read in live settings where big shoves can induce skepticism. I'm not sure if I agree with that. I think the hero just called and wasn't a great call. I think he was just confused with the bet sizing. Although, just like Bart said, too many hands, almost any other 9 beat him. Risk of calling. While Hero's call worked out there, it remains high variance decision as the board and the villain's line still heavily suggest stronger holdings. It's a call that might only make sense occasionally given the risk of running into straights or sets. However, the read Hero made here turned out to be spot on. Intent behind the overbet villain's bet appears to have been a bold move to either force a fold from a hand like ace high or to represent a bluff and induce a hero call from a weaker pair, exactly as Hero did. This sizing can capitalize on Hero's potential tendency to question an overbet's authenticity, especially in a live setting where the villain may assume Hero could call with a big bet with a marginal hand. Execution and risk. Although the bet succeeded in extracting maximum value in this case, it's risky as it relies on Hero's specific willingness to call down with marginal hands. I think it's pretty evident that our AI coach agrees with Bart's analysis that it's a crazy bet and it's a crazy call, and the best line of action would have been a fold. Awesome. This AI obviously has its limitations, but overall, I think it does a great job of analyzing your hand. It's a tool that can be in your pocket, absolutely for free, available to you anytime you're at the table or away. If you're ever in a hand that you want to talk to someone about it, but you don't have a coach standing on the rails behind you, like some of the big players always do, you can just pull out your phone, bring out this AI, step away from the table, take a moment to cool down, reanalyze your play, get some good insights into the dynamics of the hand that you just played and the table that you're at, and help improve your game overall. If you want this AI, it's available to you. I'm happy to give it to you for absolutely for free. All I ask is try our advanced poker training, which is a platform that allows you to play hands against bots that are, again, AI bots designed to play either very much like a human at different experience levels, or GTO-style play. Collects all your data after thousands of hands. You can analyze your hands and analyze your play, as I've done. I have over 348,000 hands on this platform. I use it regularly. It has dramatically improved my game to where after months of just flatlining, my big blinds, my gains in big blinds have grown dramatically. It has definitely improved my game. It does have its limitations, but I think both tools combined together makes for a killer training tool. This software is also available for free, but if you want to have access to all of its features and all of its capabilities, It does require a monthly subscription, which is very, very reasonable in terms of rate of return for your game. It's very plus EV. If you do sign up for it, send me a confirmation of your subscription, and I will send you the link for our Poker Coaching AI, the live cash crusher poker coach, and you will always have it in your pocket, even if you end your subscription for any reason for advanced poker training. This has been another video trying to demonstrate the capabilities of our AI. I think it's an extremely powerful tool to have in your pocket and at your side. I hope to see you in future videos and see you at the tables. Bye-bye.